Helldivers 2 is a game that's breaking a lot of rules. I mean, imagine this bingo, right? It is a live service game. It's a AAA premium game. It's one that's been borderline unplayable when it launched. It had broken matchmaking. It had some non-functional progression at a point. Twitch drops were there. It's got microtransactions. It's got battle passes. It's even got some gameplay-altering cosmetics. And yet, other than those servers, everyone loves it. So how can this possibly be the case with a game like this as compared to, say, a Diablo 4 that came out and got absolutely ravaged for some similar problems? So today we're going to break that down. We're going to work out why Helldivers is actually successful and what a good live service video game actually looks like. And of course, now that we're a few days post-launch, we're going to just see what the updates are for the game, and we're even going to help my team's war bonds with today's sponsor, Boot.dev. They are going to teach you back-end web development, which is an amazing and highly earning skill, in this case using Python and Go, and they're going to do it the smart way by actually making it fun. You see, they are an online self-paced platform that is 100% designed to get you writing code, and not just any code. You'll be working through role-playing game-inspired problems, and of course Boot.dev itself is an RPG. It has got quests, levels, XP, achievements, and you can get 25% off your first purchase by using my link and code. I mean, RPG-related examples are woven through their courses. Things like developing and deploying a Pokédex, learning object-oriented programming by working through RPG combat-based examples. It's the sort of approach that actually leverages the understanding of just things that we know because video games, but actually in a way to help these concepts click in your head. It's absolutely the engaging way to do it, and what's around the learning also matters as well, be it their Discord community or their just open approach to communication. So the Boot.dev Beat keeps you in the loop every month with new content, new features, the comings and goings of the platform. As an example, as of this month, they've had users complete a total of 609,179 lessons, which is pretty damn nifty. You can check them out today by heading to boot.dev/Bellular News or just clicking that link in the description. The code Bellular News gets you 25% off your first purchase, and that's of course backed up by their no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee, and I mean, hell, they've even got free demos of all of their courses. So cheers, Boot. They're an awesome way to learn how to code, and let's get into the video. As with all great things, today's video has got to start with DJ Khaled, a man notable for suffering from success. An album that would forever be memed, and absolutely Helldivers 2 is another game that is suffering from success. The team at Arrowhead have been very literally working overtime to try and resolve server issues that have been plaguing the game, and they're now actually at concurrent player counts in Steam that essentially dwarf all the competition in the co-op shooter space. Let's just do a quick snapshot. We've got Helldivers 2 right now, 210,000 players, but 24-hour peak, 411k. When the game launched, they, I think, went for 225k concurrent players. Then they increased to 360k, and still you can see as soon as they bring server capacity online, it instantly gets filled up. Compare these 24-hour peaks. GTA 5 defeated, Payday 2 defeated, even Deep Rock, a game with incredible staying power, 15.5k. It's been defeated as well. Not that 15.5k is a bad number. Deep Rock Galactic is an absolutely amazing game. Hell, there's even Helldivers 1, the 2015 game with just under 1,000 players for its 24-hour peak. But what is very clear, though, is this is a game that is successful wildly beyond the development team's expectations. We know that because of the server capacity stuff they shared with us, but even just this as well. They expected to have a small enough concurrent population that individual game masters would be able to modify live matches, which, by the way, that is an unbelievably cool thing to try to do in your video game. But with concurrent player numbers like that, they would, they would actually not even need a small army of GMs. They would, in fact, need a large army of GMs, which somehow I don't think Sony are going to be giving them. And look, it's not just a case of buying more servers, getting more capacity. Sometimes there are architectural things, code things, the way the game fundamentally is working that end up being the problem. This was captured by PC Games N, and yeah, basically you can see the team discussing that. So basically with servers, they're doing their best, but beyond this problem with servers, this is a game that absolutely is being loved. And loved in a way that reminds us all of what a live service should really be. Now, if you're around my age, think back to the past, right? You know, just beyond the days of traditional game expansion packs. The idea that you could buy a video game and there would just be content just going and going and going and going for months and months and months and maybe even years. That, to us back in the day, was a dream proposition. I remember being there with Oblivion whenever DLC was a thing, and yes, we groaned at horse armor with no idea just how bad that would get, but we also looked at, say, you know, Shivering Isles and thought, wow, look at that, they released their game and now they can just make content for it. Obviously, we know that a lot of those things went in a bad direction, but this is an example of it done right. So let's break it down. Number one, $40 price tag. This is the thing that we basically can't escape. Diablo 4, that was a game that was $70 for those who bought it beyond launch. Obviously, if you were buying that at launch and you wanted to be there day one, you were paying quite a bit more than that. And that is, of course, a similar amount of money to what many will have been paying for, obviously, the quadruple A game, Skull and Bones, including with its early access BS. And there truly is something with that $40 number. I mean, I'm not saying it's magic, but there are other notable successes that have happened this year that have launched at the $40 price point. Anyway, a $40 buy-in is only really the start of the story here. What we've got to do is dig into the live service model of Helldivers 2, contrast it to the rest of the industry, and work out why it's actually a good thing. So, I'm going to use D4 as the comparison point because Diablo 4 was a very successful game, got a hell of a lot of sales, and basically because of the discussions you guys all already know about it, including how it prices its stuff. So, Diablo 4, Helldivers 2, they are both sequels in a series built around live service gameplay. They are premium games that shipped with shops, with battle passes, and with plans for ongoing live service support. Right now, Diablo 4 has got its plans in the form of a seasonal model with paid expansions, maybe yearly, maybe every 18 months, sort of something like that. Of course, with the seasons being free, but coming with expiring battle passes. Now, the overall live service of Helldivers 2 is a rather unknown thing. Like, we literally do not know exactly what it's going to look like, but they have said they intend to constantly be updating the game with enemies, objectives, biomes, and that those updates will be free, though they will, of course, have their own battle pass in the form of the War Bond, which will add new progression to the game, with a key differentiating factor here being that, number one, your War Bond is actually used for unlocking new stuff, but also they just don't expire, right? That's basically the big point. So that's one major difference. But overall, there are a lot of similarities. If you were to break it down just to a spec sheet, a list of features, a lot of similar boxes are being ticked. So why is it that D4 generates constant negative headlines where, just to take two headlines from PC Gamer, we've got Helldivers 2 as an important reminder that live service games aren't the enemy, and another from them, Helldivers 2 is the least I felt pressured to spend money. So with all that positive buzz, how is it that this game actually managed to pull it off? What are the small differences that in fact do make all the difference? Number one, we've got to talk about its diegetic design. And with the Battle Pass, which they call a War Bond, well, that makes a lot of sense, right? Super Earth has provided everybody's first War Bond in the game, and it represents the core progression, including weapons and armor. Effectively, the free track is the whole progression that there is, right? Now, there's a lot of good things here. There are no tier skips of any kind for sale. The bonds do not expire. The progression through each page only requires you to buy most of the items, not all of the ones, and there are 80 items in total, including $7 worth of premium currency. Now, if you want the premium War Bond, right, and that will be the only option going forward, then with that, you'll have the chance to unlock 24 items for $10. And of course, the diegetic design here is something that helps, because this is all presented as essentially the in-game support that you are providing to Super Earth to defend democracy and support the ongoing war efforts, with the medals that you earn from the missions being spent on this stuff. So what they've managed to do is tie it in narratively in the same way that, as an overall experience, this is a format of game designed to be a live service. And it's not just that the narrative cohesion of the War Bond is a cute thing, it's actually far more than that. It goes straight to the very heart of this video game. So here's the deal. How many live services basically just end up being a bunch of single player missions that have less set pieces, feel less bespoke than what we got in the past, where you just play them again and again with cranked up levels of difficulty, and they just, slap it on, that's it. That's our live service game. Where it basically feels like you've got a kind of mediocre regular game with repeatable content that really isn't that good. With strength such as that, is there any wonder why your Suicide Squads, your Avengers, your Anthems are not really catching on with people? That's essentially the live service model infecting something, infecting maybe a game that otherwise could be quite good. Whereas here, we have a full embracing of it being a live service. The overall narrative is an ongoing war against, of course, the enemies of democracy, be they insect or robot. And that basically means you get to run your live service kind of forever. When you're actually in the game and you're looking through all the planets and you're seeing the war effort kind of, you lose some here, you win some there, maybe you push to a new planet, then you get to play in a new biome, all of that makes sense. So that's the thing here that I think is quite genius. And when we go to the value proposition, this is really the thing that clicked for me, right? How many live service games feel like a bad $60 game with, another $10 thrown on, and then a live service that is threadbare? I mean, a live service that might have loads of progression and loads of gear, but in terms of actual content, feels like the absolute minimum they could get away with. And I'm still going to bring in the comparison with Diablo 4. I mean, for many D4 players, what they're kind of wanting is less the big open world experience, more the sort of traditional Diablo ARPG stuff. So in a game like D4, you've got to sort of wonder, you basically are trying to make this big open world action RPG, but then the live service bit is only going to appeal to a subset of the people who that core game would have appealed to. And that just ends up being quite bizarre, whereas Helldivers is exactly what it was supposed to be. Live service through and through from the very beginning, with everything designed to work with that. So yeah, I think that's how, just in terms of like fundamental design, that's basically how this is working. Now for other things, to do more contrasts with Diablo, and of course this applies to just about every other live service out there. In D4, the Battle Pass expires. Each one does come with a free track and a paid track. But of course, the way that works is you go through the free track and then you just sort of think, oh, well, not getting the full value of that, am I? And of course, there's tier skips. And yeah, you get about $7 of premium currency in total. But the thing is, the Battle Pass in D4 is an entirely external system, right? It's external. It's completely unconnected to the actual game itself. It's unconnected from the missions, whereas in this game, it's the war bond. That's it. It makes sense. There's no tier skips. There's no expiring. And that's the core thing about the feeling of pressure that people have actually experienced. Now, the diegetic element here is quite important because it does obfuscate the more mercenary feeling of the war bonds and the store by just being part of the gameplay experience. In Helldivers 2, you play a mission, earn medals, come back, spend on war bonds, repeat. It's a very cohesive flow, and that is not how it is in Diablo 4. Now, with that, we've got to talk about the in-game cosmetics store. This is where things get interesting. So in Helldivers 2, you can go to the acquisition screen from your main hub, and it is very much presented in the same way that the war bond progression is, or your ship upgrades, or your galactic map. It all just feels, again, diegetic. It makes sense in the game world. Now on that screen, right, there's an image of what you're buying, and even a set of in-universe reviews. And again, that's a nice feature. It's a nice bit of design, because what it's actually doing is it's taking this store, but it's actually making it a Helldivers universe-themed experience, instead of just that weird tab in your video game that feels like a bunch of business people infected it. Now again, yes, this is not necessarily a mechanical difference that I'm calling up here, but it is a core part of design that I think if you're doing a live service, you've really got to think about. The live service is a cohesive experience with value that makes sense. It doesn't feel forced, it doesn't feel external, and I think that's why players are accepting it. That's why you're getting a PC Gamer article saying Helldivers 2 is the least I felt pressure to spend money on a game in years. So of course I'm buying everything in the store, because in that case, Morgan Park feels like he's being respected. As for the store content, well, that's where things get more interesting. You've got 4 options. There are 2 matched pairs for armor and helmets. They range so far between 75 and 600 currency. That is it. Now, these rotate after 48 hours. It's not actually clear when they may return, so yes, technically speaking, that is a sort of FOMO-based design. But let's just, sort of to get a sense of proportion here, compare that to Diablo 4. In D4, there's a weekly rotation of items on the shop, so there's your FOMO box ticked. The shop is personalized, so it's, dynamically reflecting your play behavior. Now, back in December, Diablo 4's shop had 34 options total for purchase, right? Now, these were ranging from mount armors, class accessories, at like 800 platinum, all the way up to the Wraith Lord Prestige equipment set for 2,800 in-game currency, which is basically like $25. But it also has got add-ons and bundles. This is where it also gets more interesting. There's two examples of those. One is the Vitreous Scourge bundle, $64.99 for a horse and 7,000 platinum. Now, by the pricing of that, obviously the platinum is kind of the main value there. The general idea is $1 is 100 platinum. So in this case, you're getting all your platinum and a horse. What's not to love? But that's obviously something it's meant to be, a big plus 600% value for the more whale-oriented players who will probably go and blow that platinum pretty damn quickly. And then there's also the Dark Pathways one. We just kind of pointed out how silly that felt on the channel recently. It's $30 for a set of class-locked portal skins and 1,000 platinum. Take out the platinum and you're paying $4 a portal. But in both cases, you can't just buy the cosmetic. You've got to buy a bundle with the currency, and both of those are very external-feeling sale presentations to the player. That makes it feel like they're going for the hard sell. Now, in both cases, there are similarities here. You can't just buy the cosmetic. In both games, you've got to buy currency and then buy the cosmetic. Both of these are very much feeling like external sales presentations to the players, where ultimately there is a screen that shows your local currency. But we're going to find out when we see that local currency screen, they do look quite different. Because here, the details actually do make the difference. So let's get into that. The purchase options that are offered by Helldivers 2 cost $199, $499, $999, and $19.99. That's it. They don't go any higher than $20, and that is for 150, 375, 1,000, and 2,100 premium currency each. Now, over in the land of Diablo 4, well, it's $4.99, $9.99, $24.99, $49.99, $99.99, and $149.99 if you feel you need to purchase 18,500 platinum for some reason, and you know that people have done that multiple times. Okay, Helldivers 2 is never charging you more than half the cost of the game for any bundle of currency. Diablo 4, however, is offering currency bundles that are twice the value of the game itself. And of course, what Diablo is doing there is it's trying to say, hey, look, that is the most efficient way to buy platinum, and as a big Diablo player, will you not see that as a very good investment in your future? So you can really see that these are different, and the differences, they don't end there. So let's actually go to the intent of these sort of purchasing models. This is where it gets kind of interesting. In Helldivers 2, you're dealing with between 75 and 600 credits for the initial items. Now, if you were purchasing that with only currency that you have bought, that's between $1.99 and $9.99 for any one item in that given window. Whereas if we were to take the 34 items in the Diablo store for December, that's between 800 and 2,400 platinum, which is $9.99 to $24.99. So you can really see that the individual size of these optional cosmetic purchases is vastly different between the games. Helldivers is not charging you as much. I mean, we could maybe start playing a game, take a cosmetic from Helldivers, and then try to imagine how much would Diablo 4 charge for it? Or Valorant, or League, or Apex, or anything. I'm just using D4 as a sort of common touchstone. You get my point, right? So basically, if you sum all that together, Helldivers feels like a little bit of a sort of a reasonable little merchandise stand where you're dealing with smaller quantities of money and it doesn't feel like there's as many big hard sales. Whereas in Diablo 4, you are dealing with larger quantities of money. You are dealing with far more expensive items. Obviously, people do feel the hard sell in D4, but they don't feel the hard sell in Helldivers 2. And that probably means they're quite willing to go and spend some money. But the thing is, they actually don't need to as much in Helldivers 2. So let's talk then about that premium currency, because Helldivers 2 is giving away quite a lot of it for free. So when is a premium currency fair? That's a pretty big question. In a game like Diablo 4, you earn additional premium currency by doing the Battle Pass, but never enough to actually buy any item. In some video games, the idea is that a Battle Pass could earn you enough premium currency to buy the next Battle Pass, and the developer would maybe just hope that you'll eventually spend some more money. Whereas in Helldivers 2, it's quite different, because in Helldivers 2, not only do you, on the Warbond, get enough stuff to buy items, but you can also just go and earn premium currency by doing missions. The drop rate here is, it's not humongous, but it's fairly reasonable. Here's what Arrowhead said. We anticipate the player should be able to earn between 10 and 40 per hour, depending on efficiency, experience, and your playstyle. As you continue to unlock more firepower and get more experienced, we anticipate you'll be able to earn more rewards. So that essentially means, right, say if you see something in that store and you really, really want it, you could actually just grind playing the game, and with all the different random pickups you'll get in missions, you'll be able to get a thing in the store. And this actually means that if you just keep on playing this game, you'll have loads of premium currency. You'll just be accruing it. And that essentially feels fair. You understand that this is a live game, that they'll be making more content, and that will have to be paid for. But you also feel like you spent $40, they know you spent $40, and they're respecting that by having the, the sort of tuning of all of these different store prices and drop rates for the premium currency actually feel good. And because it feels good, more people will probably participate. Now, of course, for Arrowhead, there's a long-term pro that's kind of bit them in the ass with all of this. If you're earning the premium currency by just playing the game, well, that's a really good incentive to just keep people playing the game. That's probably going to be good for the health of Helldivers 2. Of course, people are actually playing it too much right now, and that's causing a lot of overtime and server problems. Point though is, it feels fair. What is that $40? It's your ticket price. And look, if you pay a ticket price to go into a theme park and you feel like things inside the theme park are reasonable, you're probably going to be happy. Whereas if you go into a theme park, you've already paid the ticket, and then everything inside it feels like a total rip-off in terms of its pricing, looking at you, SeaWorld and Busch Gardens, well, you're not going to feel good. I think that's a core thing that's basically happening here. I mean, it's very much the opposite of the Overwatch 2 weekly challenges, and yes, Overwatch 2 is a free-to-play game. Obviously, this is not a free-to-play game, but would you rather pay $40 and then be able to earn a reasonable amount of premium currency by just playing the game, right? So that you can actually participate in the store without, without having to pony up loads and loads of cash? Or would you prefer a system like Overwatch 2, where yeah, you can earn those premium credits by doing the weekly challenges, but it's at a rate that is so slow it basically feels insulting? I mean, I'd rather pay $40 and be treated reasonably. And of course, if you look at the in-game currency bundles ranging from $1.99 to $19.99 in Helldivers, well, it feels more reasonable in Helldivers because it does just feel like you're topping up your natural earnings. Now, I think there's a smart bit of business design in there, right? Where because you're earning that premium currency through gameplay, you're actually a participant in the premium currency economy. But seemingly, that's actually something they've successfully pulled off in a way that has people feeling respected, very much unlike other live services. And I think it's with all that goodwill that in a way, they've been able to get away with a little bit of a cardinal sin. So let's get into that. Now, this is something that even I would recognize from some Call of Duty gameplay in the past, where in Call of Duty, right, there could be a cosmetic bundle that would basically have some attachments unlocked. I remember, of course, the one everyone remembers is the waifu skin Akimbo Diamatis in Cold War, where that was stupidly balanced, it was way, way, way OP, and it was way at the bottom of the unlocks for that gun. Or you could just buy the bundle and use the bundle weapon that already has the overpowered attachment, and you're kind of thinking, okay, boys, that's a little bit sus. As for Helldivers, well, there are actually gameplay-altering cosmetics that directly influence the build of your character. So previously, right, when talking about this game, we've been covering how the weapons are on the Battle Pass. As time has went on, though, it's became quite clear that really that is minor differentiators rather than being a sort of massive pay-to-win risk situation. And actually on that, they have overtly said that this is not a game that will ever be having PvP in it. So if that's one concern that you would have, well, probably good that that's not going to be a problem then. Now, this is undoubtedly where the game gets the closest to going on the wrong side of the line. Here's what the CEO said. He says, "I stand by it. I think the game industry needs a middle ground between pay to win / cosmetics and then pay to basically get variety." Right? As one of the replies says, pay for variety. So, yeah, what do you think about that? I mean, if this was a PvP game, this would be a very very different discussion, right? But it is not a PvP game. But I think what's happened is, because this has felt reasonable, and as players have went through the war bond with the knowledge that future ones will be paid, they are feeling that it is quite reasonable. So the idea then is going to be, yeah, there'll be new stuff on new war bonds. It will be variety. That's kind of how they'll be funding the game. Now, obviously, this is an area where they could completely cock it up. Like, if the next war bond comes out and you just have extreme imbalances, obviously that's going to be a problem. So it's not like they've earned themselves a free pass forever. I just want to make the point that a lot of things have been done right here, from the scoping of the game, the in-universe, like all the in-universe conceits. It just all makes sense. It makes sense. It feels natural. Players are not feeling squeezed in weird ways other than, actually trying to get in and play the game. It's just fascinating how well this has worked. This essentially shows us what a live service game should actually be in the industry these days. When you look at a game like this, and then you think about all those games that try to do a single player campaign that just ends up being shit. And then they basically have a tacked on thing that's a live service, and you kind of think like, great, okay, this is just a total shit show, a total mess. It doesn't make any sense. Why have you done this? No, this is it actually making sense. So there we go, pretty unambiguous win, other than the server problems, and a lot of lessons for the industry at large. Personally, the existence of Helldivers 2 and all my friends playing it in PC, combined with a lack of cross-progression in PS5, means that all of my plans to fix my computer have been accelerated, and I've already ordered the parts. So, yeah. They got me. Okay, that's it for today's video. I hope you found this interesting. Maybe this helped you get through your waits on the servers. Anyway, have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Check out our sponsor if you want to support the show more, of course. And you can check out this video next. We're pretty much releasing them daily. See you over there.